Okay, first up is Candace, and yeah, I think this is good. I like the view out the window. I really like the bamboo here. Um, I think yeah, you've got some space to work. A bit sparse here as far as other objects in the scene, so maybe thinking of populating it with some more props. It just looks a little kind of big and empty. Um, and the camera angles are okay. I mean, you could do more with those. Maybe do something with some foreground objects, but they're all right. Let's take a look at your Maya file. Okay, here's a Maya file. I like the bed. Maybe you want to move it in the corner here, so like when you're in a shot like this, there's a little more in the frame. I think there's some issue with the straw looking kind of stretched out on the top and maybe too big on the side. I don't know if you can fix that with just the UVs or that's not gonna show my. Why not? Sometimes I feel like I don't know why. Sometimes it doesn't show the image texture there. Usually it does. That makes it harder. Normally it should be just turning that on and off. But what's it like here? To like these. I wonder. You know, well, I'm overlapping now, but I don't know that that's that big of a deal. But that's, I guess, using the full length of the texture. And it's a little. It's just. Yeah, it's a bit. Well, it's just too big. I mean, the individual strands of straw look like they're the size of like a forearm or something. So, and that's not, that overlapping stuff's not a great way to do this, but the other thing we could try, yeah, I mean, that's going to look stretched. It's, you might want to cut it there and then have that as a separate piece, but just kind of quick and dirty. Let's do that like that, and then I wonder if we increase the UV repeat, if we can get away with that a little bit better. Control A for attribute editor. I'll do Alt Shift D to delete the history off that. Go into the material. Go. Whoops, what did I just do? And then I don't know. Let's try like 4x4. Yeah, that's already better on the side. Yeah, I think that increasing the UV repeat is going to help. I think the same thing with here, where you'd want to, increase the length of that. It's still a little, a little bit sloppy. This too, we might want to. Maybe take all of these and stretch them out horizontally as well. Oops, I mean in here. Yeah, I guess maybe a little narrower. If I get like the middle one, I'll do Shift. Oh, that's going to grow it. So hold on, let me just isolate this object to make this easier to select stuff on. Okay, that worked. So I meant in here we can try a little narrower, yeah. So it's not quite so. And yeah, I mean, getting a little bit of seam on the side, but it's not. So that's a little bit better, I think, than what you had. you know, a more like that size. Okay, but yeah, overall I think you've done a nice job. Next up is K, and really like this camera angle because it's really interesting. There's a lot going on. You're using a foreground object. You know, just a very thoughtful camera angle, and it sort of feels like you're someone outside looking in, and that there's something interesting going on there. It's good stuff. This one's nice too. Um, and yeah, and some good textures, floor, benches, tables, all that wood stuff's looking good. Like the open sign. It's just really a nicely fleshed out environment. It's good stuff. Let's take a look in Maya. Yeah, I think this is going to work really well. You know, you've got a lot of options here of different angles. It's fairly, I mean, you don't have that well, but it's almost, besides that, it's almost 360 where you could kind of point the character. I like even the lighting fixtures are interesting. With this kind of floral pattern here, and yeah, I can see you've put a lot of time into this, so really good job. I actually don't have much to add on this. I think that you've done great. These really interesting windows, you know, the kind of window panes you used, and you know, all the stuff outside, and it's got some depth to it. It's just, yeah, I think you've done great. It's very thorough. Yeah, that should work. I don't know. I mean, I guess if if you wanted to take it to the next level, you could look for doing things like aging the environment a little bit, putting in some imperfections, minor damage, kind of dirt smudge, those kinds of things to kind of just so it looks a little imperfect. So as I said, it's very good work, but I think that would be the way to take it to the next level. For these surfaces, did you bevel the edges? No. So you might want to put, bevels on the edges. Can't I do that in object mode? Anyway, I'm sure we went over this quite. Whoops. Quite a lot before in the previous modules, but just decrease this a lot. Maybe add a segment or something like that, and just they'll look a little bit nicer with a little bevel on them than they do without. So you could go through, and you don't necessarily have to bevel everything, but certainly the stuff that has this is a little bit more sort of camera facing, I think would benefit from a bevel and kind of lose those very, very sharp edges, so think about beveling those edges on the various squared off tables and chairs and surfaces, and certainly anything that's close to the camera. But really good work. Okay, next up is Natalie, and got some diner stools going here. Yeah, I think you've got some basic shapes for the diner, but I think it lacks detail, and you'll definitely want to pull some reference image, look to bevel edges on the various surfaces, and adding detail, pictures in the background, signages, things like plates and glasses. I think you need to kind of flesh it out a bit. I think the kind of scope of the set is good, the range is good, the basic layout is good, but it feels like kind of a blocking pass, and it looks like you need to add a lot of detail. The other thing is there's clearly no textures on the surfaces, they're just the solid colors. So you'd want to put some textures on there. And then this is definitely a broken rig. Did you reference it in, or you just imported it in? I think you just imported it in. So try using create reference instead of importing it, and yeah, clearly it's broken. this version of the rig, I can see the joints just sort of sticking out there, so something's gone very wrong with this one. And you also mentioned something about assigning color to one. Let me just assign an existing material, like, I don't know, one of these. Well, that didn't change the other surfaces, so maybe it's just more thing of being careful of what you have selected. You were saying it, changing it one, change the other, but I'm not seeing that. Yeah. So maybe tell me more about that. But I think this is a broken rig, anyways, and your texturing of your character should be done in your rig file, and then you should reference that in rather than importing them into the scene. So, and I think I covered that in the module. So take a look. Let me know if you have any questions about that. But somewhere this broke, so go back to the file, the original file, check that that's working, get the colors and textures on that, make sure that's saved, and then reference it into the scene and see if that's working. And let me know how that goes. But yeah, I think as far as the set, again, good sort of basic blocking. I like the layout. I think it's a very usable set. I just think you need a lot of more detail in the props, the textures, and the surfaces themselves. Okay, this is Lupe, and Lupe mentioned he had some problems saving a Maya file, and so did his work in SketchUp. On the one hand, I think it's good that you're industrious to try and come up with a solution despite your problem, but really need more information to help you with the Maya problem, because yeah, as I mentioned, I think a couple times, if you want to just record your screen when you're trying to save the Maya file so I can see what the issue is, I can try and help. I've never either encountered that problem myself before or for any student I have before, so I don't have a guess of what it could be. So the only chance of me being able to help you is to be able to see what's happening on your screen when you try to save the file. Also, you could save your SketchUp file, and we may even be able to bring that into Maya. But again, you'd have to save the file and post it rather than just do screen snapshots. So help me help you, and we'll try to move forward together. I think the design here is good. It's the right idea for the class, but if you obviously can't really use it if you can't save the file or bring it into Maya. Next up is Jesse, and yeah, I think this is looking good. I think it's hard to see from here. The ground texture looks a little stretched, but I think it's okay. I think you need some kind of background sky image or something like that to fill in the background, or whatever they have on Mario. And let's take a quick look. And so yeah, I didn't. Not all the textures were linked for me. I think it's because of how you have things split up into multiple projects. 07 import 03 anim ground texture map. So I could try to relink it. But I think it's like you have these multiple project folders. You should just have one project folder and have all your scene files in there, and one source images folder and have all your source images folders. Splitting it up amongst these different things and it's not in there. 03. Oh, I'm in 04. No, that's weird. I don't know. I can't find it. So, oh yeah, it says 03 and then oh, it's right here. Okay. Anyways, it's just things are a little bit all over the place. So all the source images should be in the source images directory. All the scene files should be in the scenes directory. And there should be only one project folder. Anyway, yeah, I mean, this is a little stretched around the sides. Might be able to fix it with UVs. I don't know. See, it kind of lines up with that. Well, there's only so much of the texture to work with, so you have to kind of separate it out, I guess, if you wanted to change that. Is this its own shell? Oh, it is. Well, that's convenient. Yeah, I mean, if we squeeze it this way, it gets... That kind of helps, actually. Because there's nothing to... I mean, you could squeeze it that way, but you don't have enough texture there. I guess if this thing repeated in this direction, you'd have more to work with. But if we do this, it kind of works to make it less stretched looking. Compare that side to like this side. I think I like that better. That looks kind of stretched, and you have like sort of multiple bands here. So without having to redo much, you can make that a little better. As far as the character, one thing is the idea was to reference in the character instead of importing it. Do file, create reference, and bring it in. And if I look in your reference editor, you can see there's nothing referenced in here. I don't know why the character is broken. Hopefully you have a version of your character, but clearly the rig is not connected to the character here. So I would kind of take a look back to a version, delete this out of your file, get this stuff organized, get this out. Where's the rest of this guy? Oh yeah, get these out. And any sort of sets here that we don't need. And then get all this stuff organized. I don't know if you need this extra camera here, probably not. But all of these. And group those and call that set or something like that. And then create a reference for your character and bring that in. And do you have lines on this on purpose? Or is that in your texture? You might check that in Photoshop and see if you left the UVs on or something. Yeah, I mean there's lines. I can see these black lines in here, and I'm wondering. Yeah, it looks like you left that layer on. If you brought it into Photoshop or whatever, you left your UV layer on. You didn't hide that when you exported it, so you don't want those lines. So go back to, you should have a Photoshop file somewhere where you can hide those lines and then re-export that texture. Other than that, it's looking good. This is Shelly, and yeah, it's a good start. The floor looks good. I like the bookshelf is on the walls okay. These look a little thick. You asked about scaling the character. Just select the circle at the bottom and scale that down, and that will scale the whole character. Alternatively, if you have some problem scaling the character, you can always group the whole set and scale that up. Looks like you're having some issues with the UVs on the couch. So, you're going to want to work on those, but some strange construction there a little bit, but this thing's fine. This one, let's see what you have so far. Panel, UV. Yeah, it looks kind of like a mess. The thing is, with something like this, you could probably do some planar maps rather than unwrapping it, and it would work fine because it's such a geometrical flat thing. So, for example, let's just isolate this And let's say if I take like this edge and actually, let me just start this whole thing over because it looks sort of like a mess on here. I'm just going to do one big planar map just to kind of make it one continuous shape just as a starting point. And then start breaking things up. So I was thinking this whole front face could be a one big piece. Just double clicking on each of these edges, and then click here Shift X to cut, and then take that shell, for example, like that could be one big shell, and you could do a planar map, but from the front. So that would be what, X. Okay, and you've got that shape now. I'm actually surprised it didn't do it more proportionally, because it looks like, yeah, I think you'd want it more like that, like more proportional. And then I might just move this to the side for a second, and then this here could be one, this back face of the couch here. I might make one big. Oh, don't want these. That can be continuous. Or this. Or that. I'll just select the, ew, looks like there's some wacky surface problem in here, by the way. But I don't know if nobody sees it. I'm not gonna spend a bunch of time on that. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, that's kind of messed up there. But anyway, I could do another planar. You could also try, oh sorry, I meant to do cut it first. Cut, and then select that shell. Hey. Oh, it must be because of that messed up surface. Oh, no. Yeah, there's that little bit right here that didn't cut because there's that whole messed up surface area here. Or that's like not all connected. That's like all split up there. Is it the same on this side? Yeah. So what would I do? I guess is this there's this whole kind of weird thing underneath the surface kind of connecting it there, because you wouldn't want all of this, all these extra surfaces on top of each other. I wonder if mesh cleanup will get rid of some of those. Probably not. Mesh cleanup, lamina, non-manifold, edges of 0, faces with 0, cleanup. Let's see if that got rid of any of those for us. Nope. Yeah, it's kind of a mess. I mean, personally, I would just redo this more cleanly. I would just do it again. It really wouldn't take that long. Like if I just, for example, if let's do wireframe. Like if I just took a cube and I'm gonna move the that to there. And then, you know, I'm just lining it up with this. I'm just gonna take this and put it in its own layer for now. Oh, what did I do? Why does that look weird? That's strange. Actually, template might be good. So we have like the template of everything. So I have this cube here, and then I can just use that, you know, as a template for with your couch and do something with the same proportions. Whoops. D and V, and I'll move this over here. Scale that back that way. Scale this way. Scale it down. And then put in those other lines here, like Control-Shift-X and that one. And oh, and then along the top of those. Okay, and then oh, you had something lower here. I guess this line's not needed, this edge. Shift right mouse click, delete edge, and I think it's this lower, is it this lower one or this lower one? Probably that one. Okay. And then just take, say, this, and that, and shift right mouse click, extrude face, pull those out. You know, and we've got a much cleaner version of that with a lot less edges to deal with. And it's going to be much easier to lay out the UVs and that and split stuff up than the one that you built, which was problematic. We can kind of see these side by side. You know, if you look at all the edges on here and then all the weird stuff that happened where you pulled that out, we won't have any of those problems. You could add in, what I would do is, rather than just these holding it, what I would do is put in bevels. I think we should be able to bevel just the whole thing. What did I just do? I could just do edit mesh, bevel, and just do everything at once, and you know, maybe add a segment or two here, something like that. Let's turn off wireframe unshaded. I think that would be a better way to build it, and then you can do your UV mapping on that cleaner version of it. You know, kind of continuing what I was starting to do on the other one. So give that a shot. Let me know if you have any questions. I guess I could do a less sloppy bevel, come to think of it, because I should really just, because I don't want these like inside edges like that one beveled, so it's going to be better if I went through and carefully selected exactly and only the edges I want to bevel and not any of the inside ones. Probably leave that the bottom stuff flat too. I don't need these. Let's try that. Maybe smaller fraction, something like that. That looks better. Okay, so that's enough time on the couch, but yeah, so just keep going. You know, it's a good start. Uh, but you're going to want to add some props and do more, add more to the scene. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions.